I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're delving into a powerful narrative of the girl from Orchard Park with alopecia, based on a true story by Delena Smith. This moving account tells the story of a young girl growing up in a challenging environment of Orchard Park projects in Roxbury during the late 1970s and 1980s, battling not only socioeconomic hardships of her surroundings, but also her personal struggle with alopecia, a condition that causes hair loss. She faces life's trials with strength and resilience. Join us right now as she shares insights into her compelling journey, highlighting the themes of strength, perseverance, and hope that resonate deeply in today's society. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Delena, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me here.
It must
Appreciate
have been a tough time in the 1970s, 1980s, growing up in Roxbury, which, as we know, is a tough neighborhood. And you're suffering from alopecia, which is an ailment that nobody wants to deal with at any age, let alone as a young girl. It must have been very, very trying for you, right?
Yes, it was. I actually lived in the projects with my grandmother and my mother and, my brothers and sisters. And, um, it was really hard back in those days, living in just that area and part of Roxbury and
Mm.
living with this disease,
Yeah.
sickness, disorder, and people not really knowing what it is, you know.
And so what age did you start developing alopecia, and when did you realize what the heck was going on?
Well, actually, I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
And in those days, there really wasn't a lot of education about alopecia.
Mm.
Um, I was 5 years old. I took a trip to see my aunt, and my grandmother and mother sent me over to California to visit for the holiday. I think it was
Mhm.
around summertime, and my aunt called my mother back and told her that my hair started falling out.
Oh, unbelievable. And it's basically autoimmune, right? Isn't that what it is?
Absolutely. It's an autoimmune system disease
Yeah.
that, disorder that people live with, and your hair start coming out in patches, and
Yeah.
you just don't have no words to say after it start happening.
It's
And
a little
you
child. I
know,
mean, it's devastating. I know Christopher Reeve famously had alopecia as well. I don't know if you knew that. But it always was a struggle for him. And obviously, he persevered despite the challenge. You obviously persevered despite the challenge. I'd imagine kids were incredibly cruel, particularly in
well,
that
I
era, right?
we lived in the Roxbury area. They always shipped us to Charlestown. Back
Mhm.
then, in those days, there was a lot of you know,
Was the
um,
busing and so forth going
yeah,
on?
on the bus, and we would bus from Roxbury to Charlestown, and it
Right.
wasn't too great back then in them days. And we got there, the kids, living in the projects, they didn't know what it was, a girl with a wig on. I had a
Yeah.
wig on. I
Right.
wore a wig, and they teased me. They pulled my wig off.
Mm.
They threw it around on the bus. I mean, it definitely was something
It
that
was tough.
really hurt me, and bothered me for the rest of my life. I'll
Yeah.
tell you like that.
Yeah.
It's a story I could never forget.
Yeah. And kids are cruel. I mean, particularly that era, there's these zero tolerance for bullies nowadays. But I grew up in those same eras you did, the 70s and the 80s, and kids were bullies. I mean, geez, I used to
Absolutely.
run home from school and, hope I wouldn't get beat up, it was that kind of thing. Um, but so how were you able to deal with this? Where did you find your strength? Where did you find your resilience?
Well, I really think when I sat down and I was talking to one of my sons about, I think really feel like I think my strength came when my grandmother took me to the wig store. I
Hmm.
think that's where it all started at. I think that's where I started developing myself. It took a while because people stopped pulling my wig off. And,
Mm.
it became to be a part of me, you
Right.
know. And I think that's where I felt that that was my security blanket,
Right.
and I felt like I was looking like other people, even though I
Right.
wasn't, you know.
Right.
She
Right.
tried her best, God bless her soul.
Mm.
Mm. And I believe that's where it began for me. I
Yeah.
believe it. And I think my journey started from there, and I just kept going on from there, I went on from there.
Yeah. Why did you decide to put the story down in a book?
I wanted to talk about my story coming from Roxbury, Orchard Park, the same project, the New Additions, Bobby Brown came from, and let people know that the disease that they thought I had, they thought I had cancer and I was going to die.
Right.
That's what it was back in the days because we wasn't educated about what alopecia was.
Right. I still think, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids still wouldn't know. You know what I mean? I think a lot
And
of
I
adults might not know, right? Yeah.
and I believe that that was where the point of, me trying to figure out where
To put
I
your story out there, let folks know that this is a
that
condition, the
this is
condition is
something that is
real.
really touching to people and it will carry on in their life.
Yeah,
It will
absolutely.
stay and make them feel like they're they're nobody if people don't talk about it and people don't educate people about it, and it's going to be I feel like they put it underneath the rug. I
Mm,
feel like they put it underneath the rug. I don't feel like they talk about it enough. I don't feel like they educated about it enough. I don't feel like there's enough sources about it. I don't feel like a lot of celebrities talk about it enough. When me living in the project and dealing with this as a little girl at 5 years old, it was horrible. It
I'm
was
sure.
horrible.
I'm sure.
And the next generation, I would hate for them to have to go through the same thing without being educated about it.
Yeah,
If they educate people about it, maybe other kids won't be so cruel. Maybe
yeah,
people won't be so cruel. Maybe
yeah.
people will understand what this disorder, hair disease is about.
Right,
There's like like 160 million people in the world would suffer from alopecia. It's 2% of just people, individual, just have alopecia. And
right,
I believe that because it's growing and it's growing at a small amount,
right.
but it's growing,
Right. Well,
you
it seems
know.
like all of these autoimmune diseases are growing. I don't know if it's our diets, if it's our environment or the pesticides or whatever it is, but our bodies seem to be attacking themselves, whether it's psoriasis, eczema, alopecia, so many different disorders out there. So it is good to get the word out there. I personally did not even know it could affect children. I knew some adults suffered from it, but for a child, it's a devastating thing, no doubt. And you've been able to, succeed despite this. You've been able to build up a good self-esteem despite this. Um, and I know you said your grandmother rather, was instrumental in that, right?
She was the rock. She was
Yeah,
the rock.
yeah,
She took me to all my appointments, all experiments they did on me. She tried everything to try to make my hair grow back. She tried to make my wigs fit me.
yeah.
She tried to go to the school, stop the teething. My mother was involved too,
Mm,
but my grandmother played a big, strong part of it.
yeah,
You know, she's the reason why I am the way I am now,
yeah,
you know. I
absolutely.
wouldn't be able to do it without her,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think that's almost the special roles of grandmothers. Like your mom is busy with the day-to-day stuff, earning a
Right.
living, taking care of the kids. Grandma is a step back where she's kind of like viewing the whole family and seeing
Absolutely.
where can I help, where her daughter can't help you right now. I'm going to go help. So you were blessed. You had an angel in the household,
I
and
definitely
uh,
will.
and that's nice. Do you feel obviously you were teased, taunted, and bullied. Do you think it was made worse because of your socioeconomic situation and because of your race? Do you think those were overtones as well?
No, I don't
No.
think it was the adults too. It wasn't
Yeah.
just the kids, it was
Yeah.
adults too.
Yeah.
It was everybody.
Yeah.
You go in a room, you look strange to people, people look at you, start whispering.
Yeah.
But I think after so many years, I just grew to have a wall and learned how to look at, don't see what people were seeing when they seen me. And you know, as I grew and decided that I had other things that I had to offer to
Hmm.
people that have wigs and wear wigs like me as my accessories and
Hmm.
my little, I guess my safety net. Um I've created some other things that I'm going to offer to the world that I'm so excited and dying to bring to them that I
Mm.
believe that's going to help the people that wear wigs, you
Mm.
know. And I've been working on it for a couple of years, and I'm just excited about um, educating, helping, advocating to the
Mm.
people
Right.
that have this problem.
Yeah.
That's what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's your work right now. In addition to writing this book,
Yes,
you're working
yes,
with people.
yes,
Tell us a little bit about that. Is it a business you're starting up, an
yes. It's
organization? Tell us
called.
about it.
It's Orchard Swan. I've been creating it for about 3 years.
Hmm.
It's a pattern that I'm working on for the women. And I believe that, Logan, I really believe that this is something that's going to it's going to help women because I've been wearing it and using it for like 3 years.
Right. Is this a
So
special wig or wig product or something?
it's a wig product that I'm
Okay.
working on. And I want to present it to the
Good.
world because I believe that it's going to help. It's going to help a lot of women, you
Absolutely.
know? And my name of my company is Orchard Swan.
Yep.
And because I come from Orchard Park and I
Yeah.
believe that everybody needs to turn into a swan,
That's
you know,
awesome.
women.
That's awesome.
So
It's a beautiful name for a company, and you have turned into a swan,
thank
and
you, Logan.
you've turned your life around, and you dealt with unbelievable adversity at a young age. Like I said, I grew up in the same era. I know kids were cruel, and they really picked on people and bullied people. But I'm glad you're able to develop a thick skin and move past that, and now you're working with others and sharing your story, which is super important as well, because there are kids out there with cancer who have no hair. There are kids out there with alopecia who have no hair. And you see some dads and moms doing great things nowadays. Like the kid gets her hair shaved, and dad will shave his head as well in solidarity. And I think that's great stuff. The name of the book is The Girl from Orchard Park with Alopecia. It's based on a true story by Delena Smith. It is a real life tale of growing up in the projects in Roxbury in the late 1970s and 80s and battling not only socioeconomic hardships, but also dealing with a disease, a disorder that caused her to lose her hair and caused some pretty mean kids to step up and treat her cruelly. But she's moved past that, and now she's helping others. And we're blessed to have her here today on Spotlight. Thanks so much for joining us here today on
Thank
Spotlight,
you,
Delena.
Logan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My
And I
pleasure.
hope to see you soon again to talk about my new product.
Okay, absolutely. Orchard Swan, looking forward to it. Have you back on the show? Absolutely, for sure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on
Thank you,
Spotlight.
Logan. Have a nice one.